Hello everyone, it's time for business. Now, players in Ghana's employment space minced no words in the just ended Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable as calls for a review of existing labor laws to suit the COVID-19 scourge dominated discussions. Now, a key subject for discussion was the matter regarding the massive layoffs that have affected thousands of households. Although these layoffs may be justified, the National Labour Commission says 48% of them are unfair. There is more in this report. Have you lost your job due to the coronavirus pandemic? It may interest you to know that your dismissal could be unfair. This and many other job-related issues were discussed at the just-ended Jobs and Salaries Roundtable organized by Joy Business. Deputy Commissioner at the National Labour Commission, Rose Karikari Anand, explained that 48% of terminations are unfair, arguing that notice of termination must be a month or 3 weeks.
In the labour law, there's termination, and then there's unfair termination. Termination which is fair and the one which is not fair. The one which is not fair, in fact, if you look at the cases coming to the National Labour Commission, it constitutes about 48% of cases that receive from complainants bordering on unfair termination. There should be grounds for termination. But there's this erroneous impression about the fact that, you have the right to hire and fire, the common law, hire and fire. So how do you come to work the next morning and then your boss says that, gives you a letter that you are terminated? Which reason? No reason given. But notice is given. Notice, the law says minimum, depending on your contract. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 1 month minimum.
One major challenge befalling government when it comes to the exact number of job losses in both informal and formal sectors has been the absence of available data. Taking his turn on the Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable, Deputy Minister for Employment, Bright Rekubobe, assured that data covering job losses related to COVID-19 will be ready in the next 2 weeks.
One challenge we have as a country is data. We really are battling with data. We need to know the numbers. We need to know the numbers. As you had a paper I gave you, you only have about 7,000, which is woefully inadequate. And that's why I said we are doing a holistic one.
And that will be the formal sector.
Yes, and this is primarily the formal sector.
The roundtable saw discussants push for a possible review of some sections of the Labour Act, which does not serve their purpose in these COVID-19 times. Well, meanwhile, the Deputy Employment Minister, Bright Rekubobe, has disclosed to Joy Business that government has secured some $30 million funding from the World Bank to establish employment placement centers across the regional capitals.
Already had approval with World Bank granting us, it's a holistic package of about $200 million. 30 or so of which is coming to the Employment Ministry to refurbish, among other things, our public employment centers. We hope in this process to refurbish 16 centers and targeting one in each region to ensure that the young graduates go there, key in their qualifications and so on, and then we do job matching and link them to jobs. Oh well, once it's taken under the budget, it's going to be rolled out. Already everything is fashioned out. The project is rolling out from January 2021. The other one is the insurance for the unemployed that we talked about. But that needs to really think through and then come out with modalities on how to roll this out. The Social Partnership Council is the one in charge at the moment. That is the tripartite constituent, the employers, the labor, the government sitting together to do a solid brainstorm and to come out with the modalities how to roll this out. And we are sure one constraint is data. And as we battle it out and get data, modalities to run around in the absence of data, how to get people, benefiting from this kind of thing. So it's kind of a work that will go on beyond what he has mentioned. We need to look at it very well.
Now, about 22 million people experienced reduction in their income levels as a result of COVID-19. That's according to the COVID-19 Household and Job Survey conducted by the Ghana Statistical Service. The telephone survey was carried out in partnership with the World Bank and the Statistical Service to measure change in income and household activities during the outbreak. There is more in this report.
The study is planned for a 7-month period to help assess mobility across different dimensions of living conditions as a result of the effect of the virus. The intention is to follow over 3,000 households from all 16 regions of Ghana through telephone-based interviews. The survey found that 77.4% of households in Ghana experienced a decrease in their income since March 16, 2020, when COVID-19 restrictions were first introduced.
And also this ties in very much well with some of the interventions that was announced by the Honorable Minister for Finance and were rehashed by His Excellency the President of the Republic, especially the one focusing on issues related to unemployment as a result of COVID-19. Nationally, 77.4% of households reported that total household income had reduced since March 16. This relates to about 22 million Ghanaians. With our current population of about 31 million, if 77.4 persons indicated that total household income went down since March 16, this implies that about 22 million of Ghanaians were affected by the reduction in income as a result of COVID-19.
Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina Enim disclosed that Greater Accra region is the least affected when it comes to the effect of COVID-19, even though it has the higher number of cases recorded.
Hello once again, you're welcome to Business. Now, expect your bonuses, allowances, per diems and other entitlements scrapped if you work at any state-owned enterprise. This is because government has directed all SOEs to cut down the expenditure by about 30%. So far, 18 out of 28 of these SOEs are projected to lose in excess of 2 billion cedis by the end of 2020 due to the impact of COVID-19. I've been speaking to the Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority, Stephen Asamoah Boateng.
No, short for before COVID, we projected revenues to come in. I mean, in terms of dividend of 1.2. So that was a good projection that we made. That was last year, coming to early part of the first January. But the first quarter figures show that we were going down, and that's where we started revising the notes. And then, of course, the president gave indication that we all have to look at the Plan B and how we revise our notes. And cabinet obviously had to look at all the enterprises cutting back and redrawing their programs. And so we had to engage them in what we call the COVID, impact of COVID assessment programs. We met all of them, and we could see that they all drop in revenue. So there was no way the dividend that we projected was going to come in.
This was an interview that you granted one of the media houses, I think somewhere like 2 weeks ago, a few days ago, and you made it quite clear that it should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis by all the state entities, because some are not doing that bad, but generally across board there is an expectation of about 25 to about 30% drop in budgets. But you haven't, as at now, helped us understand the exact amount, the benchmark when it comes to the capping of expenditure. To what percentage are SOEs expected to cut down the expenditure?
Well, we've been looking across board. About 30% cut down happened, but we are just in the second quarter. We just finished the second quarter, so the management accounts are yet to come in. I've seen a couple, 3 of them have come in, so we can't just use 3 to generalize. My belief is that by the third quarter, we can give you a very firm figure as to how far they've cut back. But projecting from March, we projected about 30% cut back.
And is this going to include the slash of salaries, job cards? What exactly is the expenditure cut going to include?
Well, what it means is that some areas where there were bonuses awarded are going to suffer, where increases in salaries may also be affected. But in terms of job cuts, not really. I haven't had any of my SOEs coming back and projecting cuts in jobs. So that is luck for us. We're grateful to their way of prudently managing within the confines of what they are faced with. And so no job losses so far have picked up. But in terms of the bonuses and allowances, we're looking at cutting some of them back. It's just to be able to manage within our limited resources.
Well, and the full interview with Stephen Asamoah Boateng airs on Monday at 5 p.m. You want to stay tuned for that. But away from that, local banks have been urged to uphold rational banking practices in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Several reports have revealed that the outbreak of the disease has led to the slowdown in capital investment and the suspension of the distribution of dividends for the financial years 2019 as well as 2020. In the case of Ghana especially. Now, speaking to Joy Business, board chairman of the Republic Bank Ghana, Charles Williams Joynews, says banking activities in times like these must be targeted at protecting shareholder value.
I mean, these are uncertain times, so they're not ideal times for banking. But the services are required, and we're committed to continuing to serving our customers in the best way that we can. We have to continue to be prudent. We have to continue to watch costs, and we have to continue to make sure that risk exposure is kept at an absolute minimum in order to preserve shareholder value. We also have to start being inventive. The COVID pandemic has brought with it a completely new way of life, new challenges and a new way of life, what many call a new normal. I think what we're going to have to do, not just us, but even our competitors in the banking industry at large, is to become more inventive and find more ways and means of satisfying our customers in these new times. Obviously, our forecasts at the beginning of the year were far more optimistic than they became by the ending of March when the pandemic hit. So we have had to become far more realistic in what our forecasts and projections for profit for the 2020 fiscal year is going to be. But we're managing that, and we are making sure in managing that we still keep an eye on crossing the barrier. I think this is not a time for risk-taking. This is a time for cautious banking. This is a time for watching your cost lines and making sure that you can preserve shareholder value. And I'm sure we will see our way through once we follow those precepts.
Managing Director of Automobile Distributors Alliance Motors, Richard Ankuma, says sales have been affected badly as a result of COVID-19. He is, however, hopeful of a pickup when the situation normalizes. Mr. Ankuma said this at the launch of the latest Land Rover model here in Accra.
Dealers in Jaguar and Land Rover cars in Ghana have outdoored the latest Land Rover onto the market. Speaking to Joy Business, Managing Director Richard Ankuma indicated that their quest to satisfy their clients remains despite the impact of COVID.
The maneuver of the vehicle has been done so well that the car is capable of not flipping over. That is so good about it. So the safety issue is one key thing that Land Rover emphasizes on, and that is what has been infused in this one. So the client or the customer or the driver feels that he's protected. Anytime consumer spending goes down, consumers look at where to cut spending. Okay, and obviously luxury is the first thing they cut. Okay, so when the economy is booming and consumers are spending, yeah, they can afford luxury. But the moment something like that hits, then everybody cuts back. So we have been affected very well. I mean, the kind of leads we have in the showroom, walk-ins and all that, we had leads even before COVID. Everybody has pulled back on spending.
He further indicated that the company in the short and medium term has no intention to establish an assembly plant in Ghana, but possibly in the future.
Volkswagen coming here is a good thing. I mean, it's not any bad thing for jobs, you know, for affordability. It's a good thing. You know, every vehicle has its market segmentation. For the kind of vehicles they are producing here, it has its own market share, and it's fine. I mean, we are not competing with them. Our vehicles are luxury vehicles, so our market is different from Volkswagen. Okay, so it's two different dynamics. But then in any case, whichever market Volkswagen is competing on, I think there's a problem with that. For us, our niche is different. Okay, so we also want a different pedestal, different competition and all that. So it doesn't really affect us. In any case, the plant coming here, that will be a long-term decision of Land Rover.
The new Land Rover comes in sleek style with artificial intelligence inculcated into its architecture to ensure safety for drivers.
Well, just before we leave, some commodity news. Gold added about $20 to end trading on the commodity market at $1,951 an ounce. Here is the update on trading today. That's it by way of business. I'm Charles Aite. Gary L. Smith is up next with Sports News.